But when we do the first issue, we'll have that.
Move item 5 for written discussion. Anybody in the audience wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay, do I hear a motion on the balance?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve items 1 through 10, pulling item 5. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, passes on a 5-0. Okay, we have some discussion on the item 5, the resolution with the public works procedure.
My comments on public items is very brief. I have nothing against going to West Point Highway project for construction, but I have asked both COG and Public Works for some bikeway and pedestrian path construction purpose, and that would allow me $1. It's probably the most pedestrian community in the county. And all is controlled by Public Works, and most emphatically by COG. There's absolutely no money for construction, there's only planning. There's plan, there's no money for construction. And yet seems like every other month, there's a bikeway construction project going on. And I would like to work with COG to see if we can get some bikeway construction for Murphy so that we can enhance the walking aspect of the community. Basically design and plan that community around pedestrian goal, and we've never had any money to build this. We've been doing it on an ad hoc basis. I would like to have some consideration for purchase and that side of the money together. That is my project, and I'll be glad by the consent.
I would like to make a comment on the West Point Bike Path. That's something that came up many years ago. The things that we've been there when this board construction began in the early 1990s. West Point put in a position 500 people based on the fact that every kid in West Point gets a bike, which is driving along an extremely dangerous road with no space between the cars and the bikes. It's very steep. And we took this in 7 years ago. We also have let people disappointed. Having nothing to build for a long, long time. This is one more attempt to get some kind of funding or something that had community consensus and not even well before some of the things that actually happened.
I guess my annoyance on it is that every time I bring it up, it says, most costs of public goods, there's no money for construction, there's only planning, there's plan. But yet, obviously, there's money for construction, but we're doing construction, so it would be nice to consideration of something. I don't know who's allocating the money, I'm not talking, I'm on the board, I don't recall ever allocating money to construction per se, other than on concept.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5. Do we have a second? Okay, moved and seconded for item 5. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have none opposed, so that item carries. Okay, we have arrived at the point of the agenda where we have public comments. This is for items that are not on the agenda. Anybody in the audience wishing to bring any subject to the attention of the Board of Supervisors, this is the time to do it. We will be limiting comments here to 5 minutes per person and 15 minutes per subject. So, come on, George.
Good morning, Chairman Thomas. Good morning, Supervisors. And I'm here this morning representing the Calaveras County Mental Health Advisory Board. And as you're well aware, we made recommendations to the board regarding concerns in the mental health area. And each of you has a copy of the letter I'm going to Delaware County Mental Health Board Advisory Board voted unanimously at its meeting of April 7, 2009 to oppose state proposition 1B, which will be on the ballot in May 2019. I am before you today to urge on behalf of the Delaware County Mental Health Advisory Board that the County Board of Supervisors also go on record opposing Proposition 1B. Unless defeated, this proposition will allow the legislature to divert $460 million from the funding of the Mental Health Services Act, funding which was previously approved by the people of California when they voted for Proposition 63 and the MHSA in 2004. This budget-driven initiative presents another case of the government forcing its will from the top down instead of carrying out the people's will from the ground up. Quite frankly, it is time to say no to the go along, get along, and the government and the governor and the legislature are employing this year. We must stop hurting the people who need most help every time government funds run short. Until the passage by the people of Proposition 63 and the MHSA, California had a dismal history in the care of and funding for assistance and treatment of the mentally ill. Finally, in 2004, Californians voted to reverse decades of severe underfunding of the state's public mental health system when they overwhelmingly supported Proposition 63 and MHSA. Under this landmark initiative, California has been successful in reaching many more people
Indeed, here in Delaware County and expanding community care by addressing the need of the mentally ill to live independently, attend school, successfully contribute to their communities. By diverting the $460 million in MHSA funds, the May ballot measure threatens to turn away tens of thousands of people, from children to older adults, away from needed mental health services, forcing them into more costly hospital stays, homelessness, jails, and prisons. In Delaware County, the governor's proposal will mean a loss of services to adults and older adults with serious mental illnesses, and in the long run, older adult services would be seriously impacted. The need for older adult services has yet to be addressed due to the lack of funding. These services are cost-effective but labor-intensive. Delaware County has a large population of retired people who need these services now. If this proposition passes, it would set a precedent and open the door to continued raising of the NHSA funds in the future. Don't let this happen. Thank you. We got 2 others. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
Morning. My name is John Lauer. I'm a retired psychiatrist and I live in Eagles Camp. I'm on the Mental Health Advisory Board of Commitment for the last 3 years. Prior to my retirement, I worked in county mental health programs in the state for about 15 years. And during that first 10 of those years, I watched the tragedy of the reduction in the funding of mental health services go on. And then in 2004, Proposition 3 was passed. And this was an exciting time for those of us in county mental health. We were able to begin to develop innovative programs and new services in California. Now we have this problem in the state of funding, and we begin to see the possibility that some of the funding that was voted for mental health services would be taken into other directions, in my view, rather tragic. So I would like to support George's letter and speak with another member of the Mental Health Advisory Board to urge this group to support opposition to the proposition.
morning, Robert Packard, Public Works. This is the final phase of a 3-year renewable contract with Traffic Limited. What our superintendent and our operations people have been able to negotiate is keeping the same dollar amount for the contract and an approximately 300 miles of center line to be painted and 360 miles of bottom lines to be painted on the county roads. The contract will require a 4-month extension so that when paving is completed, the company could come in after the paving is done and complete the striping on those roads. Are there any questions?
I move the resolution, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I just have one observation, Mr. Packard. There is a comment in here that says that if the county crew were to do this, it would cost more money, implying that our equipment is antiquated and such. But then on that, there's an 8 by 11 sheet we get weekly to show the construction crew activities. There was a line item that said that the stipend crew was being trained this week. So are we striping or are we not striping?
We currently are not, but we're preparing to see if that's something that's viable in the future.
Okay.
Right now, our equipment is unfortunately very old. I understand that the tractor truck is over 20 years old, and parts are difficult to come by and so forth, so it would require a purchase of equipment and so forth and so on, but there's still some work that these tractor crew can do, such as have some bike way stenciling and things like that.
I don't know whether this truck has always been a striking truck, but I would submit to you that the reason it's 20 years old probably has about 5,000 miles on it. All right, but I want to make clear that you don't have any prejudice against full equipment. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes on a 5-0. Thank you, Robert. Okay, we have item number 13 now. This is to consider approval of a budget transfer reducing appropriation for contingencies by $24,000 and increasing the appropriation for professional and specialized services within the coroner's office by $24,000. This requires a 4/5 vote, so that we have a graduate for one.
Yeah, we're looking for a $24,000 transfer into the line item 527 to cover costs operating in the court's office. This is based on the fact that the 20 autopsies, which is what basically this is a copy, or this is going to cover. In the first quarter of 2009, I'm anticipating another 20. So far, in the last quarter, well, we're anticipating, last year we had 76 cents up in line item 527. So we're anticipating, I'm just using the avenue, as of 4/7/29, we had 99 cases in the county, 99 deaths in the county. 4/7/08, we had 99 deaths in the county. 4/7/07, we had 77 deaths in the county. And 4/7/06, for that quarter, we had 97. So I'm basing it on the average, anticipating that we might do 118 cases. That's what I'm basing on. Correct. Correct. The average cost is $400 a case to the county for autopsy. So hopefully, or no homicides or anything like that, we will do is about 305,000.
I don't understand, why are we doing so many autopsies? I thought, county when you get autopsies, it was like,
We're doing autopsies.
cause of death, because it was a criminal issue. Are we having that many autopsies because would they be, homicide? We don't know.
Well, there are unattended deaths that haven't seen in 120 days or not homicide. That's just really getting back to the autopsy. So we can't just say, you can't say, it's not questions. You have to have that done. You have to, you have to follow the
Doctor, 20 days, that automatically.
That automatically becomes a shortage case. So far, the U.S. has made 52 cases that have 21 autopsies. So sometimes, with the 20 days, there's a doctor will sign it. But anything over 20 days has to be looked at by the court. And then unattended death, you got to go, so. Yeah, correct. I'm not a doctor, so call it a doctor. The doctor does the autopsy. You got to knock it down. Can't just hold
Okay, I'll move the item, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve this appropriations transfer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the item passes on 5-0.
That means for at least 20 days, we're all across the board.
Thanks, All right, this is item number 14. This is to consider approval of scope of work and contract for an amount not to exceed $61,120 with Jeffries Engineering to provide topographical surveying, due diligence, and arbor services for the proposed 240-bed adult detention facility, the Sheriff's Administration Building, dispatch, Office of Emergency Services, and operational components. This is a presentation by the Sheriff's Office. Good morning.
Good morning. As you're aware, we've got several contracts coming forward today. This one's $61,120. Little history. The Sheriff's Office has been applying over a period of time to the state, trying to obtain money to build a new jail. In March, the board, March of 2007, the board authorized us to pursue 8,900 funding. After a lengthy process, we were awarded the full amount that we had asked for in the grant application. Additionally, we went to the voters on Measure J and came under $30 million to build this project. The total funding amount of $56,952,000 to build these facilities. In December 2008, we hired Kitchen, CEM, as our project manager. We hired them for paperwork. On December 9th, we approved their contract. They've been working side by side with the county to follow the process to build these facilities. In January, we put an RFP out on the web with focus. We've been discussing hiring local contractors. We broke down the amount and the scope of work for this project, and so far we've come up with several areas that we can break away from the larger companies that help our local economy. We received 10 responses for that RFP. We had a review team review them. After the review was over with, we selected Jeffries Engineering as the firm that is most likely to accomplish this mission the way we
I'm requesting that anybody wanting to make a comment on this item, please come forward. Okay, we have a motion, how about a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve this $61,000 contract for deputies engineering. All in favor, say aye.
Wait a second, I just have a quick comment, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And that is, the one following this is the important, saying, facilities. I just want to put that into the record. We received what is, forest completion, that we're going to have a very serious discussion at some point about discussions. Spend down discuss really motion that it's good for the citizens to understand that the jail, the operating costs, the water costs, as out, we have to offset some of that. Operating costs, this is going to be online in a couple of years. If we had to come up with $2 million or even $1 million additional operating costs out of the fund today, we need to see what some of the departments look like. So I think everybody needs to be aware of the additional commitment that I would think okay, this is my comment.
Okay, one observation, Supervisor Bryant. Your microphone is so far away that,
Read it.
okay, and Supervisor Callaway also is hard to hear from, I mean,
I just think we need to be very clear to everybody what the commitment for operating costs are that's going to be associated with a jail where there's 99 years, 160 years, 140 years. There's a substantial increase in operating costs, and all of those operating costs is less than an hour, that is something to be offset by leasing out beds. That will offset to the extent whatever police out there. The environment we're in today, some counties are actually closing them to the jail counties.
okay, Supervisor Willis.
I had anticipated making these comments on the next agenda item, but I figured due to Tom jumping in on this one, I'll try to consolidate this into a single agenda point. I too will be voting for this, but I am developing a serious level of discomfort at this connection between the very good numbers that we have on the building of the facility and the numbers that it would take to staff and sustain it and the cost that we would be bearing in relation to that. I don't believe that any board such as ours can afford that disconnection, and I will not vote for anything beyond today in relation to this project until this board has had an honest discussion about the costs. Here's what I've got so far. We have 4 scenarios that are possible, although one is the one that seems to be preferred, and that's having a 240-bed jail. If we manage to rent all 80 beds out, the additional cost appears to be in the neighborhood of $1,420,000. That's if we get the full reimbursement for the 80 beds that we're talking about. I'm not talking construction costs, I'm talking about what it will cost to staff the jail above what it costs to staff the current jail at today's rates. So that's not even including inflation, that's just what it is right now. Now, let's just say that we have to cut in a draconian way, which we're already doing, $1.7 million is going to come out of this budget, and we're going to be cutting this county to the bottom. for serving the population increased. Our, for instance, general assistance costs went up in just a matter of a couple of months, 70%. So the interesting thing that I'm facing, and I think the board faces as a whole, is the question of if we're counting on only having 1.4 million more in expenses to this staff, and we're planning to cut not just the $1.7 million for this budget, but $2 million or $4 million more. We'll be cutting the very programs that are designed to keep people out of jail. So I wonder whether we're going to wind up with instead this number. Because if our judges fill these jails as our judges tend to do, we've been really upset with the fact that we let people go with no sentence. Or at least we can't hold them. So 240 beds with all county commitments. Let's say we cut our literacy program. Let's say we cut our health care. Let's say that we eviscerated our libraries and a number of the things that actually go into the full and balanced set. Say that we cut a district attorney or two out of his budget. If we're doing this across the board, that's, every department winds up with something. And we've already gone down $1 million and something. Then the total number, if we fill every bed with our own people, is $3,600,000 beyond what we're currently spending. Now, we all agree, as a county, we voted to have a jail that would hold people who need to be held. And the jail that we have is a shame that we're determined to end. But it makes no sense for us. When we made our plans, the economy was in a faint boom. And here, a year and a half later, we have a very different set of economic circumstances and a different capability of providing vital services across the board that our citizens actually demand. What I want to have, and I'm proposing this as a specific proposal relating to this item, is that we hold a study session that has the following components. Number one, I should add two other scenarios while I'm at it before going into my proposal. If we have a 99-bed facility, it only costs $1.1 million more than we're doing to staff it. If we have a 160-bed facility, calculations are $2,100,000, and those have no rentals attached to them. So I figure we're between $1 million and $3.6 million that we need to anticipate. So here's the things I'm proposing. We have a study session that first figures out which of these scenarios we're going to be facing. If we're building a 240-bed facility, are we actually going to likely rent all of it out, or the 80 beds, or not? And what have been the experiences in other counties that can inform us on this? And who are the experts that we could bring to help inform us? Secondly, I would, after determining the most likely scenarios, so we can actually have concrete numbers or at least some basis to make our future plans. It seems to me that we need a set of options that we come before this board about what cuts we're going to make to be able to provide this. And I would like to see county staff provide us with that at the study session. What are our options? How deep are the cuts? And to what programs? How many PAs are we going to ask to leave? How many roads are we going to leave unrepaired? And what are the consequences of that? What are the health and human services, other safety-related issues that we may have to sacrifice as we lay out our most likely scenario and do a cost-benefit analysis of that? And finally, I would like to bring in somebody who I think we have relied on for our planning on this, which will be Lori Perry, who I think is a reliable source of economic information to this study session. I'm proposing that we do this before we vote on any more dollars after today. I don't know when the next draft will be, but I think we need, as a responsible board, to have this conversation and reach some conclusions so that we can be honest with our public and truthfully to our staff and to the people of this county. And
potential programs are past conceptual and we apply for 8900. The operational components, the staffing, the total operation of the new jail, I think I know I can give you more definitive numbers once we get the farm, but probably not until we get the 30% of the, or the 30% of that income. And yes, they do vary. That's one of their main goals is to assist us in making sure that we build a jail that operates effectively and operates.
Mr. Water?
I just want to give the board a little bit of perspective on jail. We've been operating jail since 1960. And one of these statistics from counties, there are 14 counties with population small, eight of them spend more on prevention and correction, jail and implementation than county residents. Our closest, we spent this year, 2005, 2006 figures. I've been going over this, trying to find out why. Well, by those things, we spent $3 million more on prevention and correction. Siskiyou, population of those identical powers, spent $7.1 million. Last population 45,000, spent $7.6 million, and so it goes. We are not looking at taking up a new unanticipated expense. We have to adhere to give effectively undertaking for prevention and correction. This is the bill that's coming due. I want to be abundantly clear. We cannot avoid construction of the jail. And our needs analysis was projected out here in 60 days for 2011. Those are the figures that we have. The areas where we have an opportunity to make an impact are the development of criminal justice coordination committee, national corrections standards. There are ways to manage the flow, but fundamentally, what I make sure the board understands is this is not a new expense. This is putting us where we need to be. And we'll look at other counties to find out how in the world they're paying. So, because just as we have kind of struggled along with a more frequently how do other counties get on the $6 million? Those things are going to look at. It's going to be a difficult couple of years. But jail is always necessary.
I certainly agree with those comments, and I'm not suggesting that we don't build a jail. But I am suggesting that the council to recouple the building of the jail and our budgets and anticipated cuts required staff. So we have some understanding to this board about where we are, and I feel very uncomfortable with that separation of those two. And if they not believe that that's a set of costs that we may not
Again, I remind the board, we applied for the grant, we understood what we were applying. And part of the cost is we talking about the program costs. We are not brick and mortar costs. And so we have no programs today, none. It's going to go back to costs. That all of that without having programs or facility impacts what's happening outside of us. So we talk about the impact to the health and social services. That's a result of we have no programs inside our facility. So if we want to say cut costs in our jail, by not having programs, then we're going to pay for outside of the jail. And I agree with Tom and Steve, we have a kind of a study session on it and what the proposals are and what the options are, because this keeps coming out. But if the board is not willing to say we are going to proceed, then we might as Judge Maloney got up and he spoke, the first time he's ever spoken, and he said to everybody, oh, it's nice seeing you again, and again, and again, for some of the people that were there. And that's sort of what 36 is all about. And maybe there's a huge crowd this year, maybe we can have a bigger crowd, because we have a facility that more people will come. I mean, all I'm saying, Lloyd, is we keep saying this, but we approved this. And we understood what we were getting into. It was very clear what we were getting into. So I think we need to stop Johnny about it, have our study session, finance the construction board, and move on. That's my thought.
Supervisor Buckenham.
I agree with both Tom and Steve, and also with Lori. But I have a different, you're becoming a natural politician. I have a different concern. And that's, my background is construction. And I see two items coming before us where we're spending a lot of money here. And we've already spent a lot of money. $2 million for the sewer district, Kimball's contract, Jeffrey's contract now, and with the contract coming up in front of us for 27.75 million. Yeah, the board's not been given a budget for any of this money, for any of this construction. And my worries are, without any budget out there, that we're going to look up and find that $56 million is gone real quick. We're not anywhere near complete yet. I just don't think that we should be spending this money without a budget that we can look at and see if we're not going over budget.
We do have a budget, everything on the table. The executive steering committee, they have the copies of all the soft costs and hard costs. Are you asking?
Is that the budget you contained in here?
Yes.
April 1st, this budget that I've seen here is not a complete budget. There's mitigation measures for road improvements out here. It's not included in the budget this time. Come out of that $56 million. I see money being changed every month. This particular one coming up, it started out 2.2 million. Now it's just been added to 3.7 million in this budget. So if this is the one we're talking about, I don't think it's a hardcore budget. Because I don't know.
It is a budget that is assembled based on,
You said that question.
I'm sorry, I'm Arthur Lytle, project manager with the budget that you have in that management plan is based on 8,900 and the measure J, and money that is available. And it has taken based on our square footage, that's two of those budgets put together. Square footage where we are at completion of the RT's work and what we need to be at to move this project forward. 56,954,63. It is a basic budget, real budget in terms of construction costs. Will come with PSA as part of their scope of work. Develop. We have an overall project budget that has hard and soft costs. PSA rate, we get the hard costs. And I do agree with you, there is, as far as the traffic mitigation, that is not in that budget.
It isn't in the budget, but it's got to come out of the budget. And then I'm looking at the budget like I was talking about with that contract coming out. We're already over budget for the contract with the architect now because the original number showed 2.27 million. Now we're up to 3.75 million. So that's telling me that I'm $1.5 million over budget already for the architect.
There is a big difference between the two. I don't know what went into the 2.2 billion put together before. What we have done is take the scope order, move this project forward, and put a set
budgeted for a project base, what we were willing to do with PRG, that didn't include all these other mitigating, components that were on the project that weren't, I mean, we can't predict the future. I had no idea that we, for this budget, was going to be held responsible for mitigating traffic. And there was no pre-planning in that. I don't think there's anybody here that accounted for that. So, I understand your concern.
In construction, that's kind of my point, is in this particular instance, we have $56 million, that's what we have. So all these things are going to be thrown at us, we have to keep a handle on. If we have a budget that's reliable, and we can see, then we'll have to be able to keep a handle on it. So, and I understand what you're talking about construction, we got no architecture drawing, we got no engineers on it, so we don't know exactly what the scope is for construction related costs. These aren't construction related costs that we're talking about. So I would like to see a budget that shows those items and where we're at, and we're going to get to the cost of getting to those items. And including mitigation measures and everything on it, so we know what's left to actually have in construction costs.
And with USA Dewberry on board, and start going through the design engineering phase, you see the first estimate put together, and then the next one is at 30% design. And by 30% design, we will know where we are at in terms of our construction budget and our mitigation issues.
Mr. Wiley, if you could hold that thought about the 30% design, and let's, just want to clarify a point of order, that we have a motion in a second. I'd like to get that consensus, so on the representative of the board. So I'm going to call for the
Are we
question.
paying for this time?
For Tom? Yeah, that's part of the contract.
Oh,
But before I call for the question, I just want to ask, Mr. Lytle might be the person to answer this, but we have a large project there that has our facilities kind of nested alongside the court's facilities. There's this $61,000 contract. The way I read it, it's exclusively for our part of that real estate. The courts, somebody else will survey the other part, is that correct?
And we had put together that when we initially tried to put these things together, we tried to work with the AOC to try to encompass the whole entire thing, make it portion. Unfortunately, it was slow in coming. They are, I believe that Mr. Griffin received some work from AOC to start with their, but like a cultural mitigation, we did that for our own property. I believe the AOC will do cultural mitigation for another. I'm not sure.
If I can add to that, Tom's task is to survey the whole 57 acres. But when it comes to the mitigation requirements in the EIR, we are handling wetlands mitigation. Of course, it's responsible for mitigation of all other issues. We are only doing it on the 11.5 acres that the county.
Okay, so on the question for approval of the contract for Jeffries Engineering, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, hearing none, the motion passes. It was close, Tom. Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Good work, Tom.
Does, have we settled the question of whether we are going to have a study session?
Well, yeah, but
Staff costs.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to have Mr. Leonard hold this thought about the 30% design. I am very much in lockstep with Supervisor Campanelli about this issue of, we've only got $56 million to spend, and we've already spent extra, we're over budget on the proposed design and the mitigation and all these things. So in actuality, we should, in my mind, we should be looking at a much diminished number as far as availability of construction costs towards the for the administration. I don't, while I was focusing on this 30% design, if you're talking about authorizing Blueberry to do 30% of the design work for a 240-bed facility, certainly the projects that I've been involved in as far as architectural costs, it is a much larger number designing a 240-bed facility than it would be for a 160-bed facility. Is that approximately correct?
I think your cost for designing, whether it's 160 or whether it's 240, is about the same. It still goes for the same amount of details, same sections, elevations, it's a smaller facility. But still expending just about the same amount of energy to get what it gets.
I hear the words you're saying, but I also know, based on a lot of years in construction, that at the end of the analysis, there is always a tendency for the architects or an engineer to go back and look at what their design fees are as a percentage of total construction. They don't want to be out of whack with that. They don't want to be under it, but they want to be over the averages. So it's certainly going to cost less to build 160-bed facility than it is a 240-bed facility. If you're talking about $400 a square foot for construction costs. So my legs are fairly short, but you're not going to be able to pull them any longer by telling me that the hard cost of the contract is going to be based on the analysis and this estimate. At the end of the day, they look and see if they're in keeping with it. If all those costs come out on the low side of the industry averages, they'll raise the contract. I've seen it in 30 years of construction. So, anyway.
Supervisor Thomas, if I may, Mike Walker, Undersheriff. What's being designed here when you're talking about a 160 or a 240-bed facility? These are actually going to be two different structures. The state does not allow us to build them together. So we actually have a 160-bed facility that we designed, and then right next to it is going to be an 80-bed facility. So by them moving forward, they're able to design both of those facilities, but the board will still have the option down the road to decide whether or not they're just going to go with 160 or 240, because they are two different structures with a separation of 10 feet in between. The state will not allow us to add those 80 beds into the state money.
Okay, so that's why I think we need a study session scheduled on this. Did you have a comment, Mr. Long?
The 8-bed addition, that will rely on the central services provided from the 160 food, laundry, and stuff. It won't be a wholly separate, self-contained subdivision.
Correct.
Okay.
The 80 beds is a standalone, just 80 beds, and it's serviced by the 160-bed facility. We would be remiss if we wanted to cut back on kitchen and laundry or anything in that 160-bed facility, because in the future, if there's ever an addition that needs to be made, we would be in the same position that we are today. We wouldn't be able to add on to that facility. So we want to make sure that those basic core things in that new facility are large enough that we can add beds, just beds in the future. Yes. And it would make us more competitive for any future funding if it ever became available.
Okay,
Yes, I do various contracts on some contract. It's not percent construction. It's based on X amount of hours produced, a set of
Okay, we have dispensed with item 14, I think that brings us to item 15, is there any desire to take a break before we vote on that? No? Okay. Item number 15, you don't need to say anything, right? This is, to consider approval of the scope of work and contract in an amount not to exceed $3,750,000 with the PSA/Blueberry Incorporated to provide architectural services for the proposed 240-bed, with a question mark, I guess, adult detention facility, Sheriff's Administration Building Dispatch Office of Emergency Services and Operational Components. Okay, so here we are at item 15. Let's go on.
Same set of history as to where we got, where we're at. With the exception of February 11th, we had a short list based off of the reviews of the 10 RFQs that we received from architectural engineering firms. On February 11th, a review committee consisting of the sheriff, Mr. Lawton, senior analyst Mike Miller, and 2 representatives from Ketchel interviewed these 4 firms. After firms conducted their presentations, answered their questions, the ratings were added up. There was PSA Blueberry came out number 1, separated by a couple of points to the second one. As a result of that, I spent the next couple days talking about the references within the RFQs from both firms, submitted a report to the panel review based on what I had received with contract negotiations with
Any questions of Captain Dollar?
Okay, don't have a question, I just don't have comments. I think it's important to, and I think that we have a chain of command as we go forward on this budget. And that means that the supervisors will have staff that issue regarding the project changes that we not have issues that are that we must go through the project or we do it here it is today to do it. So I'm sorry, George. I'm talking about, I'm talking about the chain of command of this project, that we don't have, county staff, including the board of supervisors, trying to micromanage this project, that it's done like it was today in an open session. I mean, if there's some particular questions that the board has with county staff, they go through Dr. Ballard, or they go through, Mr. Lionel on this issue. Having seen what's happened in the past in other projects, we need to be really clear where that chain of command goes. And I don't care where it is, I just think we all need to follow it.
And I agree. Follow your credit how you want. You have a question?
Oh, well, it's my direction.
Well, the board, I'm talking to the other folks there too. But, Mr. Ron Kaczynski and Jerry Guerrero are here from PSC Blueberry. They'll give you a short presentation. We'll cover that topic, our change plan, and how we operate with it. And, Martin has a couple things to do for me.
We have a couple of questions up here first. Supervisor Paganel.
This contract is well written, and it's still working very well. I site and occupation of construction. It's called for the architect, Jeff says architect shall make visits to the site at intervals appropriate in the various stages of construction, which is consistent with all projects. However, it doesn't talk about the engineer having and certainly the site for his occupation. And I'd like to see that in there for her, where the architect engineer uses the site in certain stages.
And I agree with you. We are hiring an architect and engineering firm, and our engineers, they are licensed, of record on this project, and they will be out on the job site.
That's the only comment I have.
So if I understand the response, it is the architectural contract includes the engineering.
Yes, it does. And I
wanted
believe
to
at the very
clarify.
beginning of this contract defines PSA Newberry and their engineers as architects. And, therefore, they're just an architect that goes through, they talk about the architect.
I just wanted to make that mention.
Any other questions? You said that,
Yes, that we already have the presentation approved, so let's see it.
all right, wonderful. I think we're ready for that.
Good morning. I'm Ron Brzezinski. I'm the program director of the Criminal Justice Program for PSA Newberry. And there's so much of what I heard here today that I really love to comment on. Unfortunately, we've got a few months ahead here to really dig into the details. It's probably most appropriate for us to say that we're very, very excited to get started on this project. It's exactly the kind of project that the person that I worked on for 35 years and the firm has done for almost 40 years. I'd like to tell you so much here, but I don't know if we can go a few minutes. First, it's important that I think you know that PSA Newberry is a national criminal justice firm. We're ranked in the top 5 for engineering record. We've done work all over the United States, just about every shape, form of corrections and detention facilities you can think of. More recently here in California, we launched our Sacramento office where we're doing this project out of. We were hired to do the prototype design for the reentry project for the state of California. After that, we were hired to be the architect of record for the Stockton facility, the Northern Regional reentry facility. And here most recently, selected by the state, one of the 9 firms in the state to support in relation to reentry and health. So we have a good presence. We have also a pretty national presence. Our firm is about 350 architects and engineers. We are located really in 6 different offices, 4 of those offices in criminal justice work. The slide that you see on the screen in front of you here is a representation of the work that's done throughout the United States. And in red, I think what is really most appropriate to mention here is that direct supervision, and it has come up in the discussions here, but will come up as we get into the staffing and the way the facility operates, is the #1 goal by the governor and sheriff's department is to be a state-of-the-art direct supervision facility. As such, we've done a number of those facilities, but what's highlighted up here, we're actually the architects that did the very first direct supervision facility in 6 different states in the United States. So we're very, very familiar with that initiative. As far as who we are, a little more, maybe in the next slide, in this relation to architects and engineers, we are the architect of record. We hold the contract in terms of chain of command, comment, and the principal in charge of the project, the buck has stopped working. We do have 2 people here that are very, very key to the project. that, I'd like Jerry just to highlight some of the consultants that we work with in that project.
Good morning, Jerry Guerrero. Kind of goes back to your comment on how you chain of command, making sure everything filters very clearly throughout the project. And what you see here on the left is a team of engineers, local engineers that we put together, not just for their experience with correctional facilities, but previous past experience in working with them. So it's just not like we put the team together and we work with them. So we know how each operates, and they do have a lot of correctional experience. But we've also put together a quality assurance team independent of the engineering team, which is an in-house team that we do for all our facilities, that each one of those people have 20 plus years of correctional experience, part of the correctional justice studio, but they're not a part of this team, but they will be doing independent quality assurance on it to make sure that we're doing our due diligence for the county to make sure that it's the most efficient and cost-effective facility we can design. So, but as you see, everything, I'm in the middle on the topic, so everything does filter through me. All communication through engineers and the quality assurance team will filter through me, and then I will be working with in that filtering of information with Mr. Ballard and Mr. Lytle to make sure that all communication stays consistent and communication is consistent.
Thanks, Jerry. In our contract, also, was mentioned myself and Danielle and Jerry as Keegan, in the contract, so we're tied specifically to the contract, especially not only ourselves, but also consulting with us. Just three more slides here. I realize it's hard to read, but it really is the beginning of representation. Just how complicated these projects are. They are more than just people. They are more than just homeless people. They do involve a great deal of efforts and programs that do recognize mental health issues that were raised earlier in the discussion, that do recognize the different types of housing that is required. So it does take a very systemic approach to this kind of project. It's just not housing for housing people by any means. Next slide here is a representation of the schedule. The schedule, we have 42 months. As I say, we're very excited to start the project. We're eagerly waiting for approval for us to get started. We're teed up and ready to go on Thursday this afternoon, kickoff meeting. Tomorrow and Thursday, we have all-day workshop sessions planned, and I'll get to that in just a few moments. But the schedule, as you see, looks to about 10.5 months for design, about 2 months for bidding, as I said earlier, August of 2012. Next slide is really focused on, I think it was referenced as planning meetings or workshops or sessions. I can tell you that our approach to these projects is one that's very transparent, very open. We will be publishing lots of information on our website about this project. The discussion we had about staffing tremendously important. We are going to start staffing discussions tomorrow. And we design with staffing and staffing with design as we begin this project. So discussions about 30% submission, really, you see there kind of that dotted line there comes to the design development line. But really, we will have by the end of next month for the board's consideration good data to look at the way we see the staffing for this facility kicking up and what it'll take to staff the facility. So that's going to happen very early on in the process, but it's even going to happen, let me say, starting tomorrow morning, we'll start to really analyze staffing and analyze this. The workshop, again, on the left-hand margin there, what we call our programming review, as mentioned here, the program. We're going to continue to expand upon that program, develop that program, look at what spaces, what the classification of the 240 beds, how are the 160 broken down, how are the 80s to be used. A lot of that discussion is going to happen on Wednesday and Thursday. The next planning session is the 6th and 7th of May. Again, it's further programming, but then we're going to have some
third item there is on May 20th, 21st, when we're projecting yet another workshop. And at that workshop, we'll be making some recommendations on the design, have better understanding of construction costs, construction techniques, staffing, et cetera. So towards the end of May is a very important one, a big milestone in this design process. The fourth one is scheduled for June 17th and 18th. And it gets more into the detail of it, and then we wrap up the final of the 30% July, and the first and second and fourth of July. So those are just the big meetings. There's many, many meetings in between, but we would certainly encourage boards and advisors to be involved and understand what the process is, what the facility is all about. And once again, we're very excited that so far we've been selected, and we very much appreciate your approval to start our development.
Okay. If there are no questions, then I suppose the chair would request a motion on this item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this contract with the city of Dewberry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, hearing none, the contract is approved.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to take about a 5-minute break here.
How'd you like the show? We didn't see you Saturday night. Didn't see you Saturday night, always. Right. Typical. Well, Jan, Puppy and I know about politics, I just found out
But then I got there, that it was that clever juxtaposition of two different songs. They had a plot line. Whereas the plot line is real thin and long, the rest of it, I guess, you know, more just a visual.
You didn't see any actual.
I like that too, because it doesn't seem what it means. That was memorable.
You're trying to show them now.
Right, exactly. That was great, see, that was great. Oh, and yeah, Lucy thought we did.
Well, that's a good show. I mean, not, sorry, not being in it, but I thought this was all interactive. I remember the song. I think we have a very good.
Okay, we're reconvening the meeting with item number 16. And this particular item is a public hearing to accept citizen input regarding the adoption of updates and revisions to the Red Heart Benefit Basin. Adopt an interim emergency measure resolution updating the Red Heart Traffic Impact Mitigation Fee Program for a period of 30 days that will require a 4-foot slope. And this is brought to us by Public Works.
Good morning, Howard Package, Public Works. The presentation today will be given by Ferris Resources, Inc., our consultant. Is the culmination of years of work. We are very pleased with his effort, and here's Rob Bolton, Principal Engineer.
Good morning. I'm Rob Bolton. Ferris Resources, I'm here on behalf of Public Works. As Robert introduced us, what we're here to do is to look at updating the Red Heart Benefit Basin. What I'd like to do is take a few minutes of your time, just give you some background on the benefit basin itself, talk about the proposed changes, and at that time, turn it back to you for our public hearing and accept public input on the proposed changes. Following that, for consideration of the proposed changes, what we ask for, and we want to know that board action on the proposed changes by law cannot take effect for 60 days. And so we are also offering an urgency measure which will allow immediate implementation that will extend for a period of 30 days. We'll have to be renewed in 30 days to simply bridge that time gap. Obviously, this has a profound impact on a number of residents and property owners in the affected area. What we've done to provide sufficient public information so that property owners who are effectively informed was send out a public notice by Wednesday law, and then also posted related documents on the website. Those documents include staff reports, board resolutions, implementation plan, which has been circulated to the board. And it also included a lot of technical document that covers about 200 pages of technical information that was also posted to the website and really forms the basis upon which the implementation plan is rescheduled and developed. In general, the key elements of any traffic impact mitigation program, which is what Red Heart Benefit Basin is, consists of 3 key elements that are compiled here in the implementation plan.
selected. It's the capital improvement plan that identifies the improvements to be completed with the funds selected, and a fee schedule which outlines the fees that are imposed at the time of development on any existing undeveloped parcels. So we'll focus on those throughout our discussion today. We'll come back to those and talk about the existing implementation plan or resolution and the proposed implementation plan of differences that we're talking about today. So let's take a little step back to understand where we are today, what we have in front of us, and why we need this tool in the first place. First of all, the Greater Benefit Basin was a funding mechanism that was created back in 1995 as a way to equitably distribute the cost of roadway improvements across all the parcels that would benefit from those road improvements. At the time it was adopted back in 1995, it was intended that Railroad Drive would be the primary need for improvements. And critical to those improvements was relocation of its intersection with Highway 4. That relocation was necessary because of its proximity to the existing street intersection, and in order for it to function properly, and it relocated to the north several hundred yards. The costs that were created, the program that was created back then, to fund those specific improvements. And that property was established with a capacity that was proposed at the time of, typically at the time of building permit issuance. Because the Railroad Benefit Basin was really the first traffic impact mitigation program adopted in Calaveras County, it has some unique properties that have created some complexity and a little bit of confusion in its implementation, and also rolling over into the current update. We'll come back to that a little bit and talk more about that issue, and it revolves around the idea of partial payments that were accepted at the map stage. Like I said, we'll come back and talk more about that. So first of all, who does this affect? The existing program boundaries are shown on this map here, which is a little bit of a struggle to see, but it's your Exhibit A and that's the implementation plan. And it encompasses all the parcels that are identified on that map. And they are essentially defined by those parcels with primary access is via Red Park Drive onto Highway 4. Talked about before, the purposes for establishing this Red Park Benefit Basin, for identifying this capital improvement plan was to, as I said, Red Park Drive improvements. The engineer's estimate at that time to do those improvements were about $900,000. Based on that estimate and looking at the number of parcels, the type of land use within that benefiting area, the fee schedule was developed that amounted to $710 per residential unit, and then a commercial land use parcel fee of $14,359 per acre. So it's been 18 years or so, 14 years or so that the benefit basin has been in place. And I guess the question is, where are we at today and where are we headed? On this map here, what we show is primarily in the, what's a little bit out there, I guess it's the olive tinted color that shown as Murphy Oaks and Rocky Hill. That color represents undeveloped parcels for which no payment has been received to date. And so those are clearly parcels that are subject to the update program. And then there are, I think about 14 parcels that are shaded a slightly darker green that are parcels that are undeveloped, but have previously paid a portion or all of the fee as a condition of the master process. To date, the benefit basin program has collected about $220,000 of those funds. Only $3,000 have been expended for geotechnical studies and some of 14 years, we've seen a lot of changes to Red Rock Basin. A lot of changes in the way these programs are implemented, and these need to be accounted for in the updated program. So, focus our attention a lot here on some of the tough issues that we've had to try to resolve. We've tried to update the benefit basin. The graphic there, I think, is an apt description of where we're at today. And I think that will become clearer as we pursue a public hearing. And it is in part because so many changes occurring in the benefit basin boundary over the last 14 years. I'll talk about those changes in changes. Probably the most significant change listed first is the original program intended to relocate the Brevard Drive intersection at Highway 4, and that was contingent upon relocation of truck scales immediately to the northeast. For extensive range of reasons, we were unable to reach, our public works were unable to reach agreement with the state highway system to relocate those scales, which basically collapsed the entire program. We could not relocate our intersection to its desired location. And so that functionally dismantled the program. Second among those issues is rezoning of those parcels to commercial residential. It doesn't sound significant, but actually may have a profound impact on the overall calculus of anything else that we have. Primarily because the distribution of trips throughout the basin, commercial obviously there are more trips, and would have supported a larger portion of benefit basin costs. Most of the commercial parcels were rezoned to residential, had a lighter land use of traffic generation, and subsequently reduced the spread of the benefit basin costs to fewer units essentially. And during this time, of course, there were numerous discretionary approvals for these subdivisions, rezones, and as a condition of some of those maps, much of the road infrastructure was constructed that we are not proposing be included in the updated road map. As we've all heard many times before, there's this period of time, so enormous increase in construction costs, which we see around 20% increase in highway construction costs. So now that we've updated asphalt off the wall, it's been my assignment, my objective, to try to put them back together again. And I think it is fair to say that looking folks might have struggled with this, and I certainly don't think that we've come up with a perfect solution. I think what we have before today is the best solution that I could come up with. It's certainly for those who have yet to develop their property are now carrying a heavier burden than we had anticipated a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But it is the best solution that I can identify, given the constraints of Section 6600 and equitable issues that we need to adhere to. So my objectives in trying to put that together were clearly to assure funding for the Brevard Drive improvements, develop a reimbursement mechanism for capital projects that have already been constructed, and which deliver supplemental capacity which other parcels benefited from. And of course, to conform to traffic impact mitigation program requirements in government code sections, and also to work to conform this with other programs in the county to make sure that our REAP program, our spring program, and our office programs were as similar as reasonably possible to basically streamline both our and public understanding of these programs. So with that, we developed a new capital improvement program, shown here on this, I don't know how readable that is, but on your handout maybe you can see it better. It just basically identifies the improvements that are in the current plan. And they include continuing to include improvements to Red Park Drive, roadway network, or at least a portion of it that extends from its connection at Surrey Lane out to its improvements to Railroad Drive that extend from Surrey Lane out to its connection, its easement connection to Murphy Street Drive. And it includes improvements to the State Highway 4 and 3 Road intersection, and then the adjacent intersection with the connector that was built with Railroad Drive traffic across the Highway 4 connection between the road and then also part of the program is to essentially restrict operations at the existing Railroad Drive intersection with Highway 4. That will be right in, right out. So essentially what has happened is we've taken the traffic that historically was delivered to the Railroad Drive intersection, and essentially moved all that traffic to the Beach Road intersection. So improvements are necessitated there. Engineer's estimate for all of this work is close to $3.4 million, and so it's going to jump from $900,000 to that number. So we're going to enumerating those improvements. The typical section for Brett Park Drive is shown here. The improvements that are proposed are essentially maintaining the existing roadway. Existing width of that roadway will provide for 2 travel lanes, 2 12-foot wide travel lanes, and 8-foot wide parking shoulder. And the real construction of part of this is putting curb gutter on that and providing a separate pedestrian facility as shown for that. Anybody familiar with the Red Park Drive area knows well that the road carries an awful lot of pedestrian activity, and so part of this recommendation here is to provide a facility for pedestrian activity. Translating that $3.4 million into a new fee schedule that is distributed across the remaining undeveloped unpaid parcels, yielded a new fee based on PM peak hour trips of $14,000. And that translates into a residential equivalent of close to $14,500. We also changed the commercial development fee. Instead of doing it on a per acre basis, it will be computed on a 1,000 feet of enclosed building space. And that amount would be $14,359 per acre. It'll be a designated fee shown in the fee schedule that will range depending upon the land. So if it's service, it's one fee. If it's retail, it's a different fee. But it's all based on 1,000 square foot building space, and all will be linked to the number of trips that are anticipated to be generated in that particular buildings. This is shown on Exhibit C of the information. Question? It's a pedestrian bike path. The way that I structured the update for our benefit base was an attempt to be consistent with our other programs. And the way that the other programs are administered, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, is that it is based on land use. So if you come in and use it for commercial, or let's say use it for storage initially, which is a lower intensity use, you would pay a fee based on configurations of storage. If you came in and did building modifications that increased use, if you sometimes use, say, commercial retail, you would pay the difference, the remaining portion of that would be the difference between the fees. and we struggled, public works, and I struggled with that issue because the implications are significant either way you structure it. If you say it's going to be the highest use for any particular zoning, then you end up putting a very high usage rate on what otherwise might be a very low number of traffic land use. And I'll use one proposed development in Red Heart as a great example. There's a proposal plan specifically for storage units. Those compartmentalized storage units that have very low PMP amount of traffic, and so the consequence their fees are $370 per unit. But if we were to apply the highest possible use for that, his fees would be several $100,000. And so, yes, I would agree there. I guess my point there being that as a consequence, it ends up shifting the cost towards commercial. Because then if you're charging them for the highest commercial use, they're absorbing a higher percentage of the total application cost, which is what we use with the residential costs. And then, the other side of the sword, I guess it is that in some ways it's preferable to sit at the highest use, because then you don't have any changes in administration through time, and you also are sure to collect sufficient use of funds and improvements. And I think that's the plus side of doing it that way. So it's a policy decision, really, it's not on the board, and I think the preferences are that shift from residential to commercial, and then also whether we can tolerate 5-year updates that would make adjustments based on the actual land use. So, we got to the punchline, we looked at the fee schedule, it's an enormous number. After we get to that number, I want to spend just a few minutes to show that number was calculated, so that there's some understanding of where it comes from, and decisions that will be made or made today, how they might affect the upgrade number. Fundamentally, I think very clearly articulated as the estimated cost of improvements that are left to be done. As Brett Ryan rightly discussed, we have allocated $1.15 million for that. With the value of completed, which is the connection road from Red Heart up to Big Trees Road, that intersection of signalization work, which causes to read at cost, a verified cost of $2.2 million. Yeah, the administrative cost of that, I think it's a total of $3.4 million, and then deduct the balance. So we end up with an amount of about $3.3 million that remains to be funded by the remaining undeveloped parcels of that case. Then we look at the denominator of that equation, the number of trips. Look at all the undeveloped parcels within the benefit basin. We identify land uses associated with those parcels. Those land uses are based on the existing entitlements. So whatever the existing zoning is what we use. Or if you have a map that is being processed and it works separate from processing, we use that. Those numbers are documented once again in table 6 of the technical report. You can't see this here, obviously. They are attached to the handout that I sent around there earlier as page 6. Essentially, it's a listing of all the development parcels within the benefit basin, number of trips generated by those parcels. And so we end up with an anticipated full build-out of 204 PMP hour trips, and that becomes the down equation. And so applying those numbers to this equation, we end up with that $14,184 for PMP hour trip. The next step in the process is to apply that to individual land uses, and that is where the fee schedule shown on Exhibit C, which is the communication plan, derives. I don't have a copy of that for some reason. There's a quote on the screen, but it is here in the report packet. And we simply take that PMP $300 credit assigned to residential units is $1.01 per residential unit. So that becomes the multiplier to that impact fee, and that results in $14,500 residential fee. And that was handled similarly for other uses, whether they were only counted residential or commercial. And it is also noted that adjustments were made for commercial use to address this past projects. This is standard practice in the industry, standard practice with our other impact mitigation programs. It's well recognized that we will do trips, especially in this county, that there are intermediate trips or trips that are connected along the way. And so commercial uses are simply discounted to account for those past projects. The ones that are laid out. Fee schedule and table 7. So that's the fee schedule. Those fees will be collected at the time of those permit issuance. They will be placed into a discrete designated fund specifically for those purposes, and then they will only be used for purposes identified in the implementation plan and of course with the priorities that are outlined in the implementation plan. As it's currently laid out in the implementation plan, the funding priorities are listed here, and they are reimbursement from Reimbursement Administration Program, funding of capital projects that are within the capital improvement plan, Exhibit B, and then the third and lowest priority is reimbursement of developers and construction supplemental capacity that they were obligated to build on priority projects. We talked about reimbursement of developers and construction supplemental capacity, and so I want to talk a little bit about some of the development of the benefit basin and how it is proposed that we manage crediting for work that has been built and potential for reimbursement for excess capacity. As I previously referred previously, House has completed $2.2 million worth of improvements in the benefit basin. Those improvements were the condition of this map approval. And at the time of map approval, it was certainly noted that he would be eligible for reimbursement for anything that exceeded his fair share, essentially. That basically reciprocal of that is what we call supplemental capacity. And so we take $2.2 million worth of expenses that were attributed to the benefit basin, and we can essentially apply that as a credit to the benefit basin fee for his projects, Willow Creek, Stone Ridge, and Fieldstone. That amounts to about $1.4 million worth of credits, and that's essentially, going through this analysis, what we see the fair share of that developer. And so there's the map there, there's $800,000 difference between the credits for this fair share and what you've already spent on supplemental improvements, and so how to be eligible for that difference.
Before you go back to that slide, we don't have a merit offset. There's a reason we do not have a merit offset.
Meritage is a map process. Meritage pay fees. Yes, thanks. Fieldstone, Stone Ridge, and Willow Creek have not paid fees, but they constructed improvements that will pay fees, and so we just need to memorialize the credit that you will attribute to the projects.
Next question. We have a meeting, Firestone.
Murphy's Oaks is the entrance. It's not included here. Murphy's Oaks has not begun build out.
It's not included in there. When that builds out, then basically the rest goes up 7%.
Well, after that's a policy decision, for the board to make, how to administer that. The way it's currently structured, and after this is a separate board action, we'll come back to you in 3 days. We'll come back to do that. Is to process this respect to reimbursement in the house. I think we know Murphy's Oaks could be done either one of 2 ways. We could apply outstanding credits, $800,000, given to Murphy's Oaks as a credit. Or we could have Murphy's Oaks development subject to the fees. And then there will be revenue generated from that, which ultimately would fund eventual reimbursement of house and developer.
That has had the ability to request it. Okay. But then we have to redesign the road. Intersection. We would have done that at the beginning, not being able to move the scale, then when this was formed in 1995, we may have been in a position where we would have had to condemn the land at that time and have a developer to actually connect with it. That's why we have the current line to do, and obviously, but all that back to the same intersection. While I'm on that, I might as well make this announcement house from the audience. We have a meeting scheduled. Community Club in Murphy is kind enough to sort of lead. We have a meeting scheduled on the 28th of April, 5:30, Sonnet Hall, with the Deputy Director of Caltrans, his assistants come up and hope public works will address in July to discuss the status and the improvements that are being required at the Tom Bell Highway 4 intersection. So those of you that would like to be in attendance at that meeting, I encourage you to do so. The community club has to get it out. I was going to announce it on the correspondence, but I expect most of these people have gone by the time correspondence. So go ahead and just announce that this time. So you can proceed now.
What's a good transition then? This is the end of what I wanted to present. Our next steps, with consideration and just take a discussion, so positive consideration of the public update, the next steps for public works would be come back in 30 days to extend the emergency measure to 30 days. At that same time, also offer for your consideration agreement without for credit reimbursement for these. Before turning over back to the board, I did want to share with you some comments that I have received since posting these documents and public notice. And some of them get into some tricky issues that you should be aware of before you consider approval or otherwise. Then, I guess one of the trickiest questions has to do with the intersections with Zach and Big Trees Road. That intersection obviously is used by more folks than just the folks who own parts of the benefit basin. And it's been suggested that the benefit basin be extended to acceptable level of service. That study showed that 30 years from now, the treatment organization would have continued to operate at an acceptable level of service with redevelopment occurring over the next 30 years. So based on that, the conclusion that we came to was that really the differences, the improvements that have to be made in the treatment organization were solely due to basically translocation out of the Fairmont Drive to the Victory intersection. And based on that, it did not seem equitable to burden property owners along Victory Road, for example, or the opposite side. Another issue that has been brought up has to do with the inclusion of fieldstone within the Benedict Basin. Since fieldstone is already developed, it was built there. It isn't, in some ways, subject to the Benedict Basin. And the question, for the most already out of the water to include that. And in terms of equity, we certainly argue that Fieldstone was the project that actually changed the Benedict Basin. That was approved, it would seal the fate of fluid traffic to Fairmont Drive, and certainly it didn't enact approval. They were obligated to participate in the updates program. And so, even though we will not be asking the parcel owners there to pay a fee, it is included in calculations that go towards cost credit. So that is a mechanism by which we account for not getting fees assessed in parcels. Another tricky issue came up on Bullhaven, a very complicated subdivision that's got through many trials and tribulations associated with that basin. As several lots, I think 4 lots, were zoned R3 on the basis upon which our combinations were done with R3 zoning. Subsequently, I found out there are deed restrictions on our properties that restricting single-family residential development only. We've changed calculations a little bit. I have not had sufficient time to do due diligence necessary to look at those issues and whether it would affect anything at all or not. When you know that, that could affect a subsequent update. And I would have to until that. Well, it might just be one residential unit, or it could be as many as 8 multiple family units on that same parcel. If it's R3, they can build as many as, I can't remember, but it's 6. Well, that's possible, yes. They're happy with about 6 units potentially. So it either be calculated as 6 units in that parcel or as 1. And that's an issue that, like I said, not sufficient time to help buildings on that to find that out. It actually would involve the title search of every property parcel that covers something like that. I don't think we would have searches for the parts like this. So that's why it's not addressed here. And I would suggest that we refer that issue. Another issue that has been raised in particular, I've got some obligation to address, is timely updates and the issue of water under the bridge. This program is obligated, a state law is obligated to update this program every 5 years. The program was last updated in 2001. The next update would have been 2006. That update did not happen in 2006 for reasons much to do with revenue, we were doing something 2 years ago, construction would change, we would have to additional revenue. And actually, looking at, the activity in that area, that would have been subject to the fee, it actually is pretty de minimis impact for us, a couple or three, the opportunities for 3 years, since 2006, plus we would most of the dollars for then, of course, we see a big deal about the timing amount of reimbursements. Our proposed training implementation plan is a priority, proposed priority, and I think suits the reflected good executive base. So with that, I'll turn it back to the board.
Any board members have any questions of Mr. Holden?
Just a clarification, of all the things that are required, which is basically everything is now done, with the exception of our truck. Connect Road Bridge, the intersection of Highway 4. All the sort of infrastructure that needs to be done, the only one allowed this time is not done, as previously described. That part of the second, that,
Exactly.
Any questions? Okay, if not, I'd like to open the public hearing and ask for comments from the public.
Good morning. My name is Norm Brenner. I am president and largest shareholder of Mercury Rockville LLC. We currently have a 82-lot subdivision in the parcel map processed by the county, and our project is within the current boundaries of the Carpathian Basin. We currently have two concerns. First of all, we question the financial viability of the base ever collecting funds to begin the improvements that are going to be approved. Secondly, we just have concerns with the fairness of how these fees were calculated and the proportion to the amount of tax impact that was developed in the project. To begin by addressing the financial situation, as discussed, that appears to be reflected at the time the permits are drawn. Our subdivision is still only about 12 to 18 months away from being approved, and the parcel map approval is about 6 months or so. Final map approval, we received estimates from local builders and estimate about a year before our final infrastructure will be complete. That depends on the season of approvals was granted. So the reality is we're at least 3 years away before we be in a position to offer lots to the public. At that point, when they purchase lots, it's hard to say at what point they will all be, there are lots to be very similar to what neighbors and 40 acres. That was a very successful subdivision, they sold out quite quickly. That was 6 or 7 years ago, but it still remains 50% so. Our phase 1 development will have, depending on the market, will have to fight those out before we move to phase 2. So I expect quite some time before that's collected. Also, it's as discussed earlier, the construction costs, the average construction costs have gone up over 20% since the phase began 2 years ago. It's certainly easy to guess the construction costs will go up again in the next 2 years or so. And just inflation alone, we feel like the current fee structure will be fund the necessary improvements proposed. Let's see, our second concern, again, just has to do with how these fees are being determined.
page 1, just to recap what Mr. Cooper stated, and this is reading from the Benefit Basin approval here. The proposed, purpose of the Bernhardt Benefit Basin is to widen and improve Bernhardt Drive and a portion of State Route 4. This intersection of Bernhardt Drive, it further states that because these funds are not available to pay for these improvements made necessary by development, each new development project must pay its fair share. We certainly have no objection to that. Flipping to page 3, there's a spreadsheet here that spells out the parcels and their portion of that fair share. I've highlighted the top 2 parcels, those represent the parcels within our subdivision. They were and still are currently zoned rural residential. Traffic impact is measured in residential equivalency units. Rural residential has a residential equivalency unit of 0.5. That gives a total traffic impact of 22 residential equivalency units, which came out at the end of 2 figures together, 1.77% of the total traffic in the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. And that's with the assumption that 100% of our traffic would actually be utilizing the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. As our property sits right now, we only have one legal access point, and that's Amber Way. That's the only access point that's wide enough to accommodate minimum 50-foot right-of-way for access. Amber Way is not currently part of the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. Amber Way connects to Rocky Hill Road. Rocky Hill Road is not part of the Benefit Basin. There's a number of Sheep Ranch Road, Main Street, travel all over the place without ever actually accessing the roadways within the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. So the question then becomes how much of our traffic would actually be impacting the basin. And I hired Dowling Associates. They're the same traffic engineering firm that has done all the current work within the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. And if you turn to page 7 here, in the corner, Area 2 represents traffic that actually would never actually touch any part of the Benefit Basin. We have morning traffic of 40% and evening traffic of 30%. So best case scenario here is that 70% of our traffic would actually be impacting the Benefit Basin. That lowers our 1.77% of total traffic to 1.2%. Let's see here. So, based on the figures being presented here today, and I'm kind of using some of my math here, with a $14,000 fee per parcel, looks like our property is being charged the maximum, the 44 maximum subdivision, comes to $640,000. With a total cost of $3.3 million, that means that we'll be contributing around 20% of the improvement costs in the Benefit Basin. When our subdivision only was responsible for 1.2%, 20% certainly seems to fall far short of the Benefit Basin subdivision commitment to developers that would pay their share. Secondly, I want to bring up the point that hasn't been discussed today, and that's the county's commitment to all of this. If you turn to page 10, the initial Bernhardt Benefit Basin contains in the D here in the last paragraph of that, if I can read, it says, it will become necessary for the county to contribute some monies to account for through traffic as well as the development which occurred prior to the initiation of the current construction. So my understanding is that the county has not made any financial commitment yet to the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. If you do increase these fees for traffic impact on the basin today, you're also dramatically increasing the commitment that the county has contributed to this. I think the likelihood, I don't know where those funds would intend to come from, the funds are not currently available. So I do have a solution I'd like to propose today, but before I get to that, I want to bring up one other potential issue here in the Bernhardt Benefit Basin. The basin currently consists primarily of private roads. It's no secret that the homeowners have failed to maintain these private roads, and most of the homeowners associations have failed to collect the necessary fees to pay for that insurance when the time comes. I know it's easy to say that these are private roads and private matter, but the reality is these roads are failing, and we're past the point of announced prevention. And when it comes time to pay the amount of cure, most of the residents will not be able to afford to pay the chance for $1,000 it would take to bring their roads up to the measure. So
It then becomes necessary for the other property owners to pay for those who can't. Typically, homeowners associations puts liens on those, given the economy. I don't think anyone's like to put a money, put a lien on the first, this could possibly be more than the initial house to be worth. So, the end result is basically these roads will not be maintained and the catastrophic failure will occur. So, my solution here, take all of those in the Bethel Basin, public and private, let's move them all together from our assessment district, with all the roads that the county standards today. Let's have our town hall meetings and see what the residents actually want. They want bike lanes, hiking paths, lighting, landscaping, who knows what everybody wants. Let's find out what they want, get it all together, get it in front of the voters, get this work done today, guarantee this funding is available. I would also imagine that we could take advantage right now. Construction is extremely competitive. We probably get a quote lower today to make these improvements than we could ever get in the future. I'd also imagine that we could work with the development to seek reimbursement for these kind of basin. If we're capable of paying a lump sum payment up front, I imagine that could be dramatically reduced, which is going to wait for the initial improvements to be completed and then seek reimbursement over the next 30 years for possibly never. So, in closing here, let's accept the fact that Humpty Dumpty is broken and cannot put the pieces back together again. Both the developers and the county do not have the funds to bring it to completion. Its implementation was doomed from the beginning. Instead, it's a realistic solution from the voters. It's both reasonable and fair. It solves all the problems in the basin, offers permanent solutions to failing private roads, give the residents and the public the road structure they were promised 14 years ago. It will generate billions of dollars to stimulate the local economy. This basin here is broken. I believe it cannot be fixed. Just accept the fact that we cannot get the state back into account here and move forward. That I am not recommending, but it's certainly a possibility.
And what kind of roads
The Quiet Place, front of the court, all road structure, Heritage, Fieldstone, basically every road that currently encompasses the
So you're saying that the road agreements that they have with the CC line are not
Many of them do. The road agreements that I have read actually don't call for a Fieldstone.
How much money for maintenance of their roads and facilities, and you're saying it's not enough?
There are representatives here from Heritage that could probably speak better to this, but my interpretation of their road agreement, which I've read, basically states that no fees will be collected until the time that the maintenance is due. At that time, I think homeowners will be able to years or so to come up with their fair share of those costs.
And that's true for the subdivision.
That is true from Heritage. I have not had the other subdivisions. I think Fieldstone is probably a little more organized and certainly know what the roads are shape. But being at that homeowners association has a pool in their center, probably is up to their annual dues. Any other questions? Thank you.
In your analysis, Rob, how many units, residential units, did you use on property owned by
Number of units for any particular parcel are on table 6, and I believe what we have for first class code 43. Consistent with that zoning.
And I believe that helps you water jobs from the past also. It was my understanding that that's what is currently allowed without having to so much.
Okay. Our current zoning is rural residential. Rural residential, 1 acre minimum, is different traffic impact than standard R1 development. So once we have not yet received that entitlement, hopefully to one day. Once our entitlement has been changed, then the traffic impact is changed. Okay. Right now, our property is currently zoned rural residential, RR. RR has a residential frequency unit of 0.5, meaning that it is going to generate less traffic impact than rural residential R1 development.
Well, it's not residential equivalence.
Right, so residential equivalency is 0.5.
It's 1 acre minimum, it must be 43 acres, and that's residential.
That's true,
And a
and,
lot of clustering, we bring it down.
well, clustering is a legislative action that would be some form of entitlement that we have to pursue. Today, we do not have that time.
Would not make any sense.
I agree with you. As some property has D restrictions within their development, we certainly have geographic restrictions developing ours. So, true, we do have 44 acres, but about 20 of those acres are undevelopable and never generating traffic impact without some legislative. Not without a legislative action.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Walensky has a question.
Rob, you heard the discussion about the percent of total traffic being generated in dispute, going from 1.77 to 1.2. Do you have any comments on the arguments and justification for 1.77?
I did not get a copy of what the board was reviewed, but based on what he said, it's based on the map that you see in the plan, the circulation plan associated with that, which has not been incorporated into this analysis simply because at least the time we did a couple of weeks ago, the map had not been accepted for processing, and so they're not using entitlements. So I try not to be any more speculative than necessary for the program. So he's relying on different numbers that are circulated, and it's based on his
And does having a really wide legal access to the place make a difference on the calculation?
It matters on how he distributes the traffic. He was not distributing, since he was only assuming that half of it was no legal access, he was not really distributing portion of the traffic in their application. That parcel actually does cross Redmond Front with the panel of the fronts there, and could accommodate at least one-way traffic legally. And if you use your map, actually, you can condition for a modified program. So, once again, speculative, part of this number speculative criteria across the board for all possible developments in the area. This is the entitlements. And the motion is the only calculation basis, correct? Yes.
If somebody comes in with a map and creates additional parcels, that's trigger evaluation.
And that's actually written in the implementation.
I'm yourself, a resident of the American States, and I find myself astonished to be agreeing with the developer who wants to develop on this. In relatively humble calculation, the possible fees to be acquired eventually over how many years, I don't know. Nobody will pay for the costs, 3.4 million costs represented our private roads maintained. But there's nothing in the words, printed words that says how much money it has to be contributed per year or at all. So it's pretty ambiguous that they are private roads. They are responsible by way of the CCNRs, turned out by somebody among the council. So those are the two things that principally I wanted to say. The third thing I want to say is, we have calculations based on what I do. And you have a problem of how speculative you may be. The way I calculate that we're insufficient is by taking the maximum number of single-family homes that we put in the budget is still anywhere near the 3.1 required for this. And last of all, getting out of here, the budget basin has yet to repair the company. This is not unusual, it's not unusual. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Self.
Morning. I'm Engineer of Engineering. I appreciate all of our efforts on during this update. The perfect world, things have gone very timely basis. saying, I think we should look at, because as we all know, you try to get money over a big, pay for something. By the time you get there, you don't have the money, the job isn't done, so you do another step, and I just think that's what's going on. I'm honestly, I think it needs to be looked at before you adopt it, and everyone wants it. I think it's in the day of the day you adopt it, because I don't think money sometimes is just a problem.
I'm Jim Harryford, and I own one parcel. I own three parcels, two parcels that are separately one with a partner in Red Rock Basin. I have one lot that I'm actually bringing up today. We have in the building department right now. I submitted about a week and a half ago for a commercial office complex that has a total of 7,700 square feet, of which 6,000 square feet is warehouse, 700 feet are offices. The lot size is 0.87 acre. Under the program as it stands right now, our benefit basic fees on that is $12,492. Under the new program, that grows to $94,300. That's an increase of over 800%. So I put that before you just to kind of tell you where I'm coming from. So there's nothing to swallow that amount. As it's been stated before, the roads are now in, the majority, 2/3 of it has been completed. And those roads were, as I see it, were done mostly for residential subdivisions. They were roads that had been, were put in for changes in the zoning, we went to zoning change, commercial, residential. My property is state, and it was access off of the existing Red Rock Drive. And now we are being somehow coming to this overall benefit at a much greater rate. And I think a lot of it is due to the residential impacts, not so much what the commercial has done. I have just really two questions that I want to put before you. I'm not going to go over what everybody's already said. I tend to agree with most people. I think the way it is has some flaws, and I would like to see a different solution. I don't know if assessment district is the way that it's certainly worth looking at. My question is this: if you decide to further this study and continue this process on, what happens to the plans that are in the county right now? Does it jeopardize my project being approved while we wait for this process? That's one question. And if you choose to adopt the program as it's stated right now, as it is before you, is there a mechanism where we can delay payment of the funds? And the reason I ask, or the reason I say that is because, as it's been pointed out to you, the project may never be completed. The money's going to be sitting in this account. Is there a mechanism for us to pay those funds when the project is going to happen, allow our projects to go forward and generate some revenue, as opposed to giving you the money right now, which is a tough pill to swallow?
The funds we pulled over for this next create a project, but we're not operating anything. So,
Side of margin section.
I have a project in, or I'm ready to build a project. And so, and I understand that's when you pay fees, but, yeah, well, my question is, if we're going to be paying fees that run by 800%, they're going to sit into a fund that is going to, from all accounts that I hear, is going to go nowhere. Well, okay, but I mean, it appears as if it's going to be quite some time before the improvements get done. The only way, as I read this, the only way the improvements can happen is if everybody pays into it. And what I'm asking for is there a mechanism to keep us on the hook for those funds? You know, we're not saying not to pay it. Why have it sitting to an account?
Well, the only way the county would have to keep you on or something is just for us to a whole lot of money, hold the bond, and then
be obligated to pay upon issuance of the waiver. So, the board adopts the recommended action state, it's just, these measures to take effect immediately, and all undeveloped parcels will be subject to review, and any building permit issued after today will be subject to that date. And it will be building permissions. But I think that's one part of what we discussed. I think the other question you had was really establishing some mechanism for conserving. I know this is a topic that had come up previously in other septic rectification programs where, trying to provide some sort of solution that will allow septic payment. That's not something that's currently structured in the implementation plan. I do believe that there are other mechanisms out there, private enterprise, that provides for that. But it's at a cost.
So the problem with that is we have some of that currently is it's not on up front, and it's just on the creditworthiness of the parcel. We have somewhere, once my district, where the real estate market is over us, first basically, not having any money at the parcel sitting big, the parcel size and class. What do we do? Stuff shows here we go, here we are. There's no viable, without the county doing all the work, putting a lien on the property, and then foreclosing on the property, and putting the property up for sale. I don't think the county wants to go measure it. So, my own feeling is that these need to be paid time conditions. And it's not like, oh, it's not going to happen in 20 years. The only improvement left is Red Bar Drive. That's what we want. There's 200,000 coming in, and we say there's shortly, or something, and there's 300,000. Take a look at Red Bar Drive, take a look at the stations, break it in half. Discussion about what the town should pay for it. But I don't think that Mr. Sullivan spoke and those comments were accurate. Well, that's not accurate. Take 14,500 by 42 lots that currently
Mr. Garrett, I just want to clarify, notices, so that without the modification of the fee structure, would be for this one, commercial parcel would be 12,500.
under the system at the same time.
Right, but modified, the proposed modification would be 94.
That's what it says on the chart.
There's still time.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
On the presentation you gave us today, one of the items that today's public hearing, board consideration of proposed changes which will take effect in 60 days.
That's if you don't.
If we do the urgency, then it takes
on this?
I know. That would be Hi, my name's Jack House, and, we just really learned about the assessment, possibility of the assessment program yesterday, we did it throughout the day. Well, I sure think it'd be worth exploring how much it would be assessed at each party, and being able to get the roads turned down, get the bike lane in, beautify that whole place, get it done now, get the private roads that are going to be maintained, maintenance, to maintain it from the county. I would imagine, I'm not quite sure how they work, but the money would be taken out of property taxes. It's guaranteed to pay back the loan, and as far as field stone, you could take the HOA field stone. I set up the budget, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact numbers, but there is, that you pay reduced somewhere $240 a month, which is a certain percentage of that 240. It's already dedicated towards the roads and the sidewalks and maintaining the whole thing. And without knowing what we're going to need to spend and how much success is going to be, it may not be far out of what we're doing right now for the recreational use. And as far as Marathon State, I know that they're it just feels like this way everybody goes in, everybody takes their fair share of what you're getting, and there's a mechanism in place to get the roads done now, and then just move on. That's kind of over with. Then most people that put money in get reimbursed, and everybody gets to pay back. So we have a lot of questions about the benefit basin as it was proposed, but I'm really hoping that the board will consider approving this as practice.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Cox? You have comments, please come forward.
Michelle Flanagan, I'm a local architect, and I just wanted to point out one thing. I think all of these have been good, but traditionally, while fees are paid when the building permit is picked up, these are calculated based on the date when the plans are submitted. And that has always been the case in here in this county. So if that is going to be done differently in this case, I think the board needs to specifically take action to say that that could be extremely irregular in this case. While I understand the need for action could have been delayed. To say that it's an emergency as of today, and that we're going to treat this differently on continued other fees going into effect, doesn't really seem to be warranted. And the idea that the basin will be funded, the balance of the basin will be needed because it's part of the project, won't be funded until each of those parcels are built on. I don't think that would be honestly in the current
Generally, I have a couple lots, at least, one in Rivercottage and one on Friendly Court. I paid $4,800. Listen at your figures of 05 or whatever. I paid $816.04, $6,036 for credit card. And that's a basic issue about the county's morality of all of this. One person to build a house pays $700, and another pays $6,036. And since then, since 04, credit card has gotten worse, not better. And
about some people can pay early, some can't. When you go to the office, they don't seem to know whether every one of them shows the people. So I think you ought to get your act together on that. And that, I mentioned the different fees for different people. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Mr. Riggs, did you say you paid $6,000 just for the identification?
Yes.
For one house?
Yes. $6,036. $78. That was on 8/16/04. That's where I should have paid $700. But look how you can get bureaucrats to justify anything. And what they do is find some little bit somewhere and justify it. So one person pays $6,000 to build a house, and another person pays $7,000. I hear you using the word fair, but I think you should go to the dictionary, study it a little bit, not use the word if you're not going to be fair. Another thing about the district, Red Park district there, is that the county has done some terrible mistakes. One is forcing people to have private roads. The county inspected roads, they're up to the standards. And the other thing they did is they allowed cul-de-sacs that dead end, so there's no access to future development. The county could correct that. There's 2 lots available. You wouldn't even have to go eminent domain into the smart to get about mile and a half, and you would correct a problem that planning admitted to me many years ago. 2 lots, one in Meritage and one on front of the court for sale that access that. I mean, correct your problems, don't live with them and, keep your head in the sand. The other thing is that I think, it's really easy to get caught up in these figures and these charts and things like that. And this is a fundamental concept of development in Calvert County. When I talked to planning, they talked about developing in areas that have sewer and water and things like that. Okay? You guys forget about that. What you want to do is penalize developers like House and Norm over there and force people to go out and build where they got rotten soil and they can get some engineer to put in an ineffective septic tank. And even the best ones are only designed to fail in 20 years. And so you're going to have more and more people, because it's $25,000 cheaper to go build out there on the side of the hill somewhere, then you'll have a problem. It's much like another problem you're talking about. You're very short-sighted on this. And then what you want to do is have a huge problem where septic tanks flowing over down the line. I mean, you could support these people instead of penalizing. And trying to get around the 60-day thing is another bureaucratic lie. You don't need to do that. There's no emergency here. I mean, we're all going to be breathing in an hour, and in a day, and a week. We're not going to be bleeding. Our hearts are going to stop. Don't do the 60-day process. Do it like Joe and Lake. Find some skullduggery to get around that. Anyway, it's just, a thing about fair play. The morality of fair play. Think about that. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Riggs? Anyone else wishing to comment on this subject? Okay, if not, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for the question. Board discussion.
Well, I'm giving my 2 cents because I've been so involved with this over the years. First of all, I totally agree with Jim Riggs' part of Jim Riggs' comments. The idea that the county allowed those cul-de-sacs
development versus public works and other issues. It's in a record that, and I brought it up before, we should have a policy that is absolutely, we do cul-de-sacs by exemption, by rule, and we should have a very good reason to do a cul-de-sac. Somebody should be figuring out what the connections are to the additional properties. You're wrong on the issue of the lots of cul-de-sac. They would require eminent domain because those are private roads that are not offered for dedication to the county, so they would have to condemn a private interest in their property on those roads that they would not go in. So, the exception being, and the reason David's here, his friend, was Meritage, where roads were offered. Dedication, and that's why we want to work hard with the citizens of Meritage, and citizens should have connected with the other end of this property. Where I will take exception is that this process is patently unfair. It was designed initially for one set of circumstances. The scale could not be moved, and you had to come up with a whole different factory increase road to allow development go forward. Otherwise, all the people that are living in the Red Rock Benefit Basin wouldn't be there. We have the basin. You know, and for all the controversy I've had out of the Red Rock Benefit Basin, I've never had one person that lives there ever come up and say, geez, Tom, thank you for forming the basin, or I wouldn't be living here. You know, it's been 14 years, I've had that happen once, Jim. All there is controversy with that.
I see it as a...
You have a public hearing closed. Oh, yeah, you can. Let's not go back. I guess I would also take a slight exception with the fairness. I mean, yes, there's been some that's unfair, but if you look at just about everything that's been done out there, there's not some place to use. Right. But you had you have all those projects that were done at Caps County, whether it be Meritage or Fieldstone or Willow Creek or whatever. And those were deferred, as you saw. So there haven't been very many parcels that aren't going to be paying the fee, because all of the house parcels that were previously developed are basically paying the fee. Credited according to the new fee. So you look at that, and you look at Jim's project and the other ones that are undeveloped, you look at Gordon's project, then you basically have a couple cul-de-sacs and I guess a Mormon church, which you could say escape the assessment. But that's not a lot of parcels compared to the total number of parcels that are within the Red Rock Benefit basin. So yes, there's been some escape, and since there's been some escape, that's not fair. It was set up to be at the planning, the building permit stage, and for some reason, staff, I think one or two projects go through with having to pay at the MAC stage, which was not intended and should not have happened, but happened. But I don't think there's a lot of escape here. And then you can come to this idea of, well, let's have a greater distribution of costs. And quite frankly, I don't think we're being able to vote for that. If you did the study and did all that work, at that time, the question is who's going to fund that? I'm sure it's not I'll recommend the board take that out of the Red Rock Benefit basin fees. That, I think, quite frankly, is that on arrival, if we have enough fees, then Red Rock Drive from future development, I'm not frankly looking to use these to do a greater study, quite frankly, it's probably 98% certain we can get on arrival. basically, we have one road left, and we have the objections to these, the improvements. Frankly, as I said, not a whole lot of lots, the number of lots that the state, the updated assessment versus the total lots, right on that base and such. So, life isn't perfect, and the set of assumptions we started with turned out to be totally fallacious because of having to meet the access point, basically, not be able to move the railroad by intersection 7. That's why we're here. So those are my comments, and the board wishes to make their comments or questions. Have to make a motion to
Well, I find Supervisor Brown's arguments strangely persuasive. I think there are, we have several things going on. One is that we seem to have got almost a hodgepodge of subdivisions coming together in one area. And frankly, I thought we were done when we had our experiences with the Pacific subdivisions, the Diamond 20s, the Circle 20s, whatever other 20s we had out there. We had an experience where we set these things up for failure, and they were never going to be able to be public. It just doesn't pencil out, and people don't vote to maintain their roads. When half the people coming in expect a road that is a super highway, and people who come here on fixed incomes think that even $30 a year is excessive burdensome. Here we have at least common economics, and relatively new commerce to these places, and yet still we say we're going to maintain roads and nothing is done. That's one of our problems. The second problem is exactly what Tom described, is that things change. We thought we were going to have something on the sheet, and that it would be simple and straightforward, and the Caltrans would be cooperative, and that we would be able to move a way station. And it turned out that we didn't get that level of flexibility from our state agency. So here we are with a set of costs that we either mitigate or plunge into the same problem that is on private side. Failure to maintain or even create original circumstances which mitigates safe transportation and effective roads. I do agree that it would be important to have a fair and equitable system. I believe that's what Rob has spent a long time working on, in consultation with a wide range of people and inputs all over. One thing I understand, there's two issues, and I'd like some explanation before we start. I don't understand how somebody can get their building plans in, have them hold on to it, then get charged the higher thing. I think there's a certain cutoff date, which I presume to be today if we vote this or this. But if somebody's already got something in the council's building plan, they will take that and get it in the plan. I just don't understand what that is.
that's because we've had such a long process to get it here. Everybody in with the building. Okay, why would you can't have a discussion about it?
I don't discuss one more. I'm separating, I understand the issue.
Yeah, that is big with all of this.
There's the one, there's the four, there's, but I don't know how many, there may be two that have their building plans, and I don't know, but I'd like some sense of that, understand what our policy is and how, like the curve shows. But other than that, I really do support this, and again, people,
public can't get it.
I would like to know also, what the I've heard two. I'm aware of that. Two that you're aware of, but I don't know what the building department. I don't see.
Share what you guys is,
I can tell you that the board's policy was when we adopted the wind fee. Those of you who were in here during that, we left it to the discretion of the building official to determine whether or not the building plan is sufficiently detailed or far enough along to accept them under the existing fees for the fee. And I believe we actually wrote that in the resolution that left to discretion. As I recall, that's what they wanted. And the board went along with that, so I recall that. That's what I was suggesting to you, after that policy, create a legal to building official's discretion to determine. Because what he was concerned about was they, and that's probably not as applicable here as it was with the benefit, which is a 60-page fee. He was concerned about people slapping together plans that weren't really realistic and it's for many people, so that could be the best.
Well, let me go back to my earlier comment, and that is we had a, second, and everybody, a lot of people said, well, I want to rush my building, I'm doing right now. Said no. Processing, board took action on the fee. And, our passengers, that's what, doing this, or our basis, I think probably most of those people that are coming up, can't be corrected. But I understand.
Well,
So, I mean, the problem with what you're saying is, we don't have a discussion. Everybody, there's no numbers left to.
I don't have anything where I suggest that anybody can apply for the permit and cannot,
But the thing is, the issuance of the building permit is not processing of the application.
yes, but it's.
And where they are processing the
If they're
application.
passing the application, it's sufficient to meet their requirements, then the building official's commission of that was that certification. That was the policy you followed.
You know, at that point, you might as well just fill a whole basin. All has to go back.
If you want to adopt a different policy, you feel you have at least set standards on that.
It's the building permit stage of the process. It doesn't make sense to say you're not going to process it, or taking action in a short period.
But what I'm saying to you is that if someone wants to come in and submit an application at any point in time,
Yes, you accept the
you
application.
have to accept the application and it needs to be processed.
Yes, I agree, that's what we're doing.
Correct. So if you want to
He
change.
is at the building, I understand, he is at the building permit stage. That's what we have to pursue, getting it here as quickly as we can.
The question
Building
is asking is what was the policy? I'm explaining what the policy was for the fee. If the board wants to change that policy, they clearly can do that. But the question was what was the policy? If that was the policy, the board would have to do that. So if you want to change that, I
saying
think
that
that's,
the basically is the non-conditions of the building permit, so I think that's what the original part.
that's what the rent fee was too. The Mitigation Fee Act says that we usually collect an occupancy permit stage unless you make certain findings, which we routinely do to collect the building permit stage. So what I'm suggesting is if you want to change that policy, I would suggest you make that part of the motion, not only what the board policy has been in the past.
Two resolutions, you push it.
Yes, I just want to reiterate, I want to reiterate my
why don't we, I think we could get information like 130 days at the time of approval. So that time, but
You're gonna have to adjust the whole range of fees if you're gonna take something out, because there's only enough fees to finish the program. So we can just create a deficit if you don't have increases in fees. For others, then you get back to the Jim's argument, well, what's fair about that? And that to me is less fair than what we are today. Do that.
Any other questions?
Question that came up, during the last, is the properties rezoned, basically based on, given some circumstances today, and then if rezoned, what is our position going to be if we go from commercial to residential, is it going to change? Another time.
We have a precedent, we have, basically, if we do a rezoning, we have to do an environmental review, and basically, we board position on that. It could pass for environmental review of traffic, this current the assessment based on its current zone. So if we're going to rezone to a lesser impact, then we're not going to allow the rezoning if it doesn't pass the environmental. And that's environmental review on that. So when that happens, if I go from commercial to residential, they the commercial fee to residential, so they go pass the environmental review, so they can get the zone.
Let's see, why did you,
Let me take on that too. That's partially what happened. What happened was when they attempted to do the zoning, they did not want to update the benefit basement, which is what we were requiring them to do, the fee, calculate the fee. And in the absence of them agreeing to do that, it was our primarily that made the decision that we had unmitigated significant impact that required an environmental impact report. So they chose instead of doing the EIR to pay the original fee out of the original fee. Yes, it would have been unmitigated traffic impact, and you have to impose a feasible litigation measure, and if the fee is a feasible litigation measure, impose that. Otherwise, we would have to do all the roads and see reimbursement similar to the purchase of that. And that is also the answer to your question. In the future, if anybody changes the assumptions and the benefit based on the document, they have to come back and redo the benefit based as part of the project. And that's exactly what happened with the other project carried out in the past. He was required to participate in an updated benefit based on the mitigation measure for the project.
any questions?
I do, in terms of an assessment district, the private properties want to do the work required to get a legal survey to see if people in the benefit basement is for the assessment district. I would be fine with that every time to modify the benefit basement at that time, but I do not feel that we should be spending general fund money for our benefit basement money to develop an assessment. The other issue I like Tom's idea of going forward today, checking out what we have in the pipeline and making adjustments
separate,
And
and
if they don't act on the building permit, generally you're applying for refund, you get refund. When it comes to post building permit, it wants to actually build, you will get the fees, that's fine. So frankly, it's going to go up, not down. So
I think what Maria is suggesting is supposed to help separate those who may have applied without building standards. Trying to find what the key is from those that do intend to build the time. And hopefully that helps.
I would just point out that there's only two folks, I don't know if this is all three or just probably one, but the fee just goes up on the remainder of lots. So it's the same amount of money. So I think it's just fairness. It's not like the state's the same. I mean, you take 95 out of here, you gotta add 95 in, 5 in.
All I'm saying is, if it's Mr. Hereford and Mr. Lee, that's $158,000.
That's a big number right now, 200,000. That's not a great fee. That's a Anyway, it's gonna come back in 30 days. But you're still gonna be paying something that's $1,000, so that's not a great fee.
Okay, luckily for us, over the next day, it's like, I mean, this, in 30 days, we have a chance to
You ready for a motion?
Well, I just wanted to respond to Mr. Riggs' suggestion that there actually is a drop dead emergency. It has not been satisfactorily explained to me why we're facing the urgency to implement this today, about 30 days, about 60 days. Somebody maybe feel comfortable about why it has to be done.
Chair, the terms they use in change again, this is true, they're not the same. Emergency is not the right term, it's standard requires money. This is a emergency measure, requires a bit more funding than we use to protect the law. Urgency measure. As far as practice, that's the problem. It's not an emergency requirement.
Okay, urgency, not emergency.
Urgency.
And the issue goes straight to the conversation we just had, if we defer this for 60 days, there will be the potential significant loss of revenue to Benton Basin that will then, clearly demonstrate the logic that you shared with us and others about liability of product. It will fail. Absent action.
Heard that, Mr. Hereford seems to be, in my mind, to be in a different situation. He's trying to get the building permit approved for some time. It's just,
It's saying, there's supposed to be a process
since this has a potential for being a $90,000 problem, yes, I will allow you to come and make comments.
Yeah, Tom, you brought up a meeting we had about cows as kind of a trigger point where we cut off the meeting. That was an informal meeting between you and fellow councils and our representatives and the league. It was our first take at looking at the new benefit. We got it from Rob that day. At that time, I was even told that that possibly the fees on my property had already been paid. I wasn't even included in it. And to think that I didn't just rush down here because we're going to plan for 3 months. I had 2 tenants lined up. So it's not, I just come away thinking that this little informal gathering we had to talk about it was drawing a line in the sand of whether or not I can put my application in pay the original fees. I think it should be able to find conditions of development, quite frankly, so we don't have this discussion. This is a nightmare, we don't really have time
That's not the rules as they are now, right? That's not the rules as they are now. The rules are, what they say, it's fine to submit.
No, Mike, that was on the real, this is the shared,
That's
this is
fine.
what was currently in place at the time of issuance of the building. That's what currently this says, and I will reiterate it in my motion. I mean, if you don't pay your, portion of your share of the contract, then this will go over to the remaining lots. You say you have 3 lots, this is one of them.
One is already approved done, and the other one is, not perfect. We have,
You know, we still have 1 lot, the assessment will go up on that, if it goes down on this end, and it will go up on every other lot, whether it's norms, or house assessment, or whatever else that, there are not very many, I mean, this Dennis lady, and I don't think, Dennis isn't here, he's in Ironstone, he basically said, just tell me what I owe, so I can get my buildings, and then get the hell out of here.
Supervisor Tran, I'm being encouraged by other board members to stop the debate on this, but I just feel compelled to tell you and others that I will not be voting in favor of a motion that would penalize a person who would do that all too frequently. We set up rules and regulations, people come in and they apply for these rules, and then all of a sudden we tell them, oh, by the way, when you're writing that check out, be aware that we changed the rules yesterday, or we changed the rules on this one. I don't like that. We've earned just our reputation of being a moving target on the rules that we conduct ourselves with. So, Supervisor Walensky, you want to comment?
What I was trying to do is a point of order that was going to suggest that we had a motion in front of us with the discussion concern every way, off 30 days. We had a set of facts in front of us, the question of how to treat the applications at that time, not now, but only after we do pass the motion and after one is considering the question as to whether that 30-day aspect of consideration that you're taking with extended motion.
Yes, I'll make the motion. I would move that the board adopt an urgency measure for a 30-day interim authorization. As resolution updating the Red Park Traffic Impact Mitigation Fee Program, presented as attachment A, and so do as take the following actions. A, affirm existing boundaries of Red Park Boundaries based on Exhibit A of the implementation plan. B, identify public roadway improvements necessary to mitigate traffic impacts associated with new development shown as Exhibit B capital improvement plan implementation plan. C, adopt the fee schedule shown as Exhibit C of the implementation plan, which is based on $14,184 per peak hour, PM peak hour trip, yielding a fee of $14,541 per residential dwelling unit. Establish an interest-bearing designated fund receivable using a program. E, authorize transfer of all monies previously collected by the program and deposited in the road commission fund established pursuant to IFP above. And F, adopt an urgency measure as an interim authorization for program implementation. Along with that, I would also add in the motion that the fee is to be collected at the time of issuance of the building permit and not at the time of the submittal. Just like the original documentation also says at the time of the issuance of the building. Rob, you had one, I think, something in the motion about something or something that you wanted to have, that you were going to recommend be included. What would that
We
be?
can reserve such issues until the 30
Okay,
days.
that is my motion.
Mr. Long has a comment.
It's not a comment, it's a question. The collecting of the fee on issuance of the permit, does that require any amendment or change by the resolution or the implementation?
That is how the implementation plan currently reads.
So it requires no change.
Correct.
Okay, because I'm just glad we get the slide.
and so on, prior to the, calling the question, do you have a question for the board?
If this was to be either now or modified or replaced, and let's say, for discussion, that chief archers that we think are in the building department don't have to be overviewed, and the difference between the concrete post so then we have to go back and recalculate, so then the fee goes up for everybody else. So Mr. Harrisburg has to pay $12,000 instead of $94,000, that extra difference goes back to the calculation, and everybody else will pay that.
That's exactly how we do that. However, I would simply offer that I'm not sure the magnitude of that change will look like, whether it will be relevant. Related to that, and not to confuse anyone, I prepared a resolution that essentially takes one that we have, rounds up to the nearest 100 schedule. The change that you're talking about, you essentially get diluted sufficiently with that rounding that will handle it. In addition to that, sorry, to the Commissioner I've got to offer is that the plans that have been submitted to building are for a portion of that cost that we're talking about. So we're not talking about 90,000, we're talking about, I believe, less than half of that. So it's significant, so there's less that we're talking about, and based on that, based on my understanding of the numbers, it should fall within that decision of calculations.
The end of March. Mr. Dees.
That I don't know. So I would have to look at both of those, and I would see if it would work. And I was wondering maybe that's something that we could do.
I'll include a motion, those that are going to come back.
I
To
can
the board, and the board will have the ability to discuss and modify.
So you're modifying your motion? Does the second still hold?
Second holds, actually not just as a procedural point, but actually for content.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the modified motion passes.
Thank you. Now I think we should take out the benefit taste and fees lunch for the board.
Is that the old rate or the new rate?
In that case,
I want to change the vote.
in that case, I want to change my,
Okay, we still have business to conduct here. We have, item 17. This is a discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of applicants to the following committees and commissions. Okay, these positions will serve under the jurisdiction of the board. We have County Service Area 2, County Service Area 4, First 5 Calaveras, Commission on Aging, Agricultural Advisory Committee, the Agricultural Dispute Resolution Committee, Emergency Medical Services Oversight Committee, Mental Health Board, Public Education and Government, Television Commission, and the Solid Waste Task Board.
I would just like to thank Bob
have the proposed appointees.
I do have one amendment I'd like to make to this nominations for District 2's the Agricultural Advisory Committee. I would like to also recommend an alternate for District 2 representative, Joe Cease is the person who holds the seat and will continue to do so. But I would like to name on there and the
These are the sequence we have.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion second for approval. I just want to point out that we have an application for the this is the for the supervisorial district for the districts. Okay, with that clarification, Mr. Mono.
Yes, I didn't hear you say Commission on Aging when you were going through the list, so thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of these applicants, say aye. Aye. Opposed, hearing none, all unanimous, so please, and I think we can move on.
For those applicants that have run, congratulations.
Sharon, for your first acting check, obviously.
I'm a young thing.
See if we can call a place to say.
I have what institutionally available.
Okay, we have item 18, if we can keep going, to review of correspondence, reports, various matters. Supervisor Fryer.
A couple things. Number one, Carol had a call from she's on the Vallecito Cemetery District. She said she's had an application for reappointment, and it's happened for several months, by the 17th. After review of correspondence, I'd just like to reiterate that on April 28th, we're having a Caltrans meeting with the Deputy Director in Summers Hall at 5:30 p.m.
Code and Railroad Class, whether their draft documents, and then we all meet town to submit the process. That's tonight, and on Wednesday, we have a multi-agency gathering, including BLM and U.S. Forest Service, Fish and Game, here in my facilities, Business Council, others, to West Point, to meet with, as the calendar consensus group, series of as well. On Friday, I have the Oklahoma meeting, Watershed Authority meeting,
I have, I'm going forward with two of our planning on Thursday at 8, I will be supported with Howard Field for presentation. Even though we have resolution. What is the training board? And then I have, before I was notified of the meeting, the deputy called me for the watershed authority. I accepted 1% of the cost of the fire.
Yeah, better off than me. You don't pay that, the supervisors here that want the money.
So I have to ask my alternate for this and then. How many water or that party? And on Friday, 1 o'clock.
And then,
I will be attending the Dallas Festival in Valley Springs on Saturday. And also, I've advised that Fox, everything there Saturday evening. One thing I forgot to bring up, there's a Cal Fire appreciation, looking at small, single. So I'm going to do a chamber for my 5:30 to 6:15 Cal Fire. We've always wanted to be very regular. Hey, we want to do that. And I haven't notified them. Oh, that's right. I gave it to you. And that's, oh, that's right. Okay, so if you guys like to go, Carol's going to call. I don't know if you like Cal Fire also. I was, Jim Frost,
We also had a presentation by Tim Gage, the former director of finance in the state of California. And there were two things that I came away with on the presentation. There was a little statement. Sort of showed some leanings towards the state, but besides that, it had to do with the state. Which I think is important for us to consider when we go through the budget. One, there cannot be impossible cuts. Budget hearings. I think that we need to set priorities. We think having code enforcement, law enforcement, meal on wheels, subsidizing planning department, what have you, are our highest priorities, and that's what we do. As we do the spending, and other departments will be strongly support the second thing is that the Council of Governments has a strategic plan, and I know Mr. Long is supporting the plan to try and do the board, which I do too. And we came up with the 7 priorities, which are 2 days strategic planning process. And one of the items was better working relationship with our partners, especially looking at a lot of discussion about work. Starts to change from a county perspective. We have one committee that's really working well, which is tremendously Jen has that. Public Works Department is on public transportation. They're working on aviation because, as you know, the transit system is going to lose about a third of its function. So we have to be really excellent people working together. How do we keep transporting our lives? That's it. That I can discuss with all. We all got, we all got the letter from the Executive Veterans Affairs and a blah, blah, proclamation, and I asked, Mayor Sweeney if it was a legitimate bill because the rules getting these, and the Veterans Affairs officer said, yes, it is. But all they had information to tell us is that there's 6,000 veterans in our county, so I thought we made a couple of minor changes just to be more inclusive and acknowledge and tell there's that we could do this. So if you all don't have a problem, I will take that short on some modifications and ask just to have it on consent agenda. That's it.
All right, since it's up to me now, I said at the onset of the meeting that I wasn't going to comment on something that was under correspondence. And I apologize for not reading immediately after the approval of the consent calendar. But we had significant correspondence from Stuart Master of the Ag Advisory Committee concerning the help that Vernon Tavis and Mary Muntz had given on the resolution of the Gilman Road issue. I think that was pretty underappreciated, and Vernon's is still here over the years. I see from my standpoint, Vernon's, that when I first heard about that, it was a little bit after I got to be a supervisor, and this issue of Gilman Roads, it was going nowhere, and oh my goodness, and how long did it take to get resolved? So anyway, my hat's off to you for whatever you did out there. I certainly appreciate it. And same goes for Mary Muntz. I think that the letter thank them for the appreciation of the ag community and what you did. So congratulations on what you did there and the acknowledgement that you got. Okay. The other thing is board appointed responsibilities. Don't really have any, except that the very important thing that I have to do on Friday is to have lunch with Supervisor Fontanelli and Senator Thomas. So I'll be helping with that here.
I knew you were coming because you didn't know what next, but I knew you were like, that's a kind of a total shock.
I will not be attending the hospital tour, nor will I be attending the chamber lecture on Thursday. So that concludes my report for this week, and I thank all of you for coming.
Chair, I have something to do. Sorry about
Did you have something?
The board will recall that we probably a couple of years ago now, entered into negotiations to buy a property immediately to the center. And then we had those negotiations, and we never were able to agree on a price. The parties were very far apart. So we were into a contract which set up arbitration, a binding arbitration to set the value of that property. That process is finished now. And we just got the arbitration decision. So the value of the 28.1 acres, which was purchased for this proposal, is set to $2,409,000 and some change. That's somewhat higher than we had offered going in. It's substantially less than the property owner had laid on the property. So that's the result. It's a good result. It's a matter of opinion. I would say that this process was extremely efficient. It saved a tremendous amount of money. It got a lot of litigation expenses and litigation trial. So, and it gave both sides a full hearing with experts on both sides. So we have the result. I have the press. It's a 13-page statement that discusses all of the evidence that came for that the process.
Carol, do you have anything?